emotions running high, and what a way for the Arizona Coyotes to cap off their time in Arizona with a win over the Edmonton Oilers. We'll talk about that as well as what Arizona hockey means on today's episode of Locked On Coyotes.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everyone. This is Locked On Coyotes, number one daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes. I want to thank everyone for making this show your first listen every day, as we're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm about to turn this feed on over to a crossover episode I had with Locked On Devils host Trey Matthews and Locked On Ducks host JD Hernandez, as we talk about what hockey means in Arizona, hockey in the desert, a lot of different topics, as well as the final game of hockey in Arizona. Well, welcome everyone to today's episode of Locked On Coyotes. I am your host, Robyn Leonio. Trey Matthews of Locked On Devils joining us, as well as Jason Hernandez of Locked On Ducks. Trey and I are live at Moreland Arena, recording from Moreland Arena. Jason recording from Acrisure over in Palm Springs. After the Arizona Coyotes and the Edmonton Oilers in the final game for the Coyotes in Arizona. It's a very mixed emotions all around, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it firsthand with you, Robyn. It was definitely an emotional roller coaster, to say the least, because the Coyotes were not favored to win this matchup. Let's be perfectly clear, because you're going against the Edmonton Oilers, and they're a perennial playoff team. They're honestly title contenders, and going against this Coyotes team that had their backs against the wall and everything that's been happening so fast within the last few weeks, it was going to be an all-out effort. And I spoke to Josh Doan during morning skate, and he said he wanted to give the fans one last good memory. And what a memory it was. Emotional ride. Honestly, you couldn't have scripted it any better. It was a dominant victory for the Coyotes.
And that was one of the things that I called for in the pregame show here on Locked On Coyotes. And I was like, hey, I just want this game to be a game for the fans. Play this one for the fans, because they might not get to see, NHL hockey for 3, 4, 5, or even longer amount of years. Who knows? We don't know the timeline when they're going to come back. So, they deserve it.
They definitely do deserve a team. And when do they get a team again? We don't really know, because it can vary. And the thing is like, they're not going to retain their history, because it's going to be something like you described to me while we were waiting outside the locker room. It's sort of a pseudo history, to say the least. Is that the phrase you used to describe it?
Yeah, essentially, because you take a look at it this way, pseudo history, because if you look at relocation history around the National Hockey League, when the Winnipeg Jets 1.0 came down to here in Arizona to become the Phoenix Coyotes, the then Phoenix Coyotes, they assumed that Jets history. And when the Thrashers went up to Winnipeg, they didn't reassume the Jets history. They kept the Thrashers history. So that's all that happened. So this is what's going to happen. Salt Lake City is going to assume the Coyotes history. And when there is an expansion team, I'm not going to say if, I'm going to say when there's an expansion team here in Arizona down the road, that essentially it's going to be a whole new clean slate.
But here's the question, and I'll let JD jump in. When is it going to happen? Because we see this throughout sports all the time. The Cleveland Browns and the Baltimore Ravens situation. We saw this when the Seattle Supersonics relocated to OKC. OKC got the Supersonics history. But now it's just like the NBA has been talking about getting another team back in Seattle. Mm-hmm. But I've been hearing those discussions ever since I was in middle school. And for reference, I'm about to graduate and get my master's degree from ASU for reference.
I mean, I've been hearing that since you guys were, I'm the older one in the group, but I remember those rumors maybe a year after the Sonics move to OKC. And when talking about the history going over from Seattle to OKC, in a sense, they have the history, but in another sense, do we see banners for retired Sonics numbers in OKC? No. Do we see banners for the Sonics titles in OKC? No. Because I know Seattle still wants to have an expansion team, but I think they would retain, or I guess bring back those banners for whatever new Seattle team, hopefully Sonics 2.0. Would they retain that history? I would say probably.
Yeah, so it's definitely going to be an interesting future for the Coyotes. They're not going to keep their name in Utah, if I recall correctly, right?
No, they're going to be a completely different brand. As of right now, Alex Meruelo has exclusive rights to the Arizona Coyotes IP, at least the next 5 years. So once the 5 years lapse, then who knows what's going to happen. So because he owns the history, the Utah name has to be something different.
Yeah, I'm getting kicked out of my spot real fast. Let me just relocate to the press row real fast. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting few years, and this is just happening so fast. Let's be real. And I hate this for a lot of people who are potentially losing their jobs, because you don't want to see anyone go through that.
Yeah, and it's not just Arizona going through that. I mean, I'm here at Acrisure, and the Firebirds just took on the Tucson Roadrunners. They're going, don't forget, they're going through the same thing too. I mean, a lot of those guys are going to be losing their jobs. Will they relocate to wherever they're going? I know, Robyn, you happen to kind of know the answer to that, right?
Yeah, I've been able to get a little bit of inside info. The Tucson Roadrunners moving up to here at Mullet Arena, where Trey and I are at. They're going to be playing here at least for the next year or two, to my knowledge. I mean, they're going to be under a completely different brand name. From what I've been told, is they will be under the Coyotes brand name. I don't know exactly, how much of that is in the process of happening, but that's what I've heard. They're going to be up here at least for the foreseeable future. Don't know much past that, though. And today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. Guys, I need you all to listen up for this huge announcement. I have been tracking the leaderboards every day, keeping my eyes on the scores, putting all my heart into it, and I'm super pumped to announce that I'm finally on top. That's right, obviously, I'm talking about the hit mobile game Monopoly Go. You've probably heard of it. It's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great mobile twist on classic Monopoly. You can play anywhere, anytime. You can explore hundreds of Monopoly boards, from Las Vegas to Camelot to the moon and all, while raking in a huge fortune. You can charge rent on iconic properties just like classic Monopoly. My favorite part is where you can see who is a Monopoly tycoon and who's gone bankrupt with their leaderboards. So get yourself on the charts and download Monopoly Go for free on the App Store and Google Play.
Yeah, it's going to be really strange, having AHL games here and announcing the Coyotes again. It's going to be a mind trick for me, because I'm so used to the Coyotes being an NHL team. And in fact, I mean, my first NHL game happened to be Ducks versus Coyotes. This was only 7 months ago that I announced the Arizona Coyotes, and all of a sudden they're moving to Salt Lake City. That's a weird mind trick to me.
It's definitely going to take some getting used to, because honestly, even though the Arizona Coyotes don't have championship pedigree, I would argue and say they're still somewhat of an iconic team, just because you don't think of hockey in the Valley, but somehow, some way, they made it work. And someone like Shane Doan, despite all the struggles, despite all the rumors, he stood by Arizona through thick and thin and thin and thinner. And I had the chance to talk with him during intermissions. Great guy. I had the chance to announce games for his son, doing play-by-play when Josh was still with ASU. That entire Doan family, and Josh Doan is right now killing it with the Coyotes, or I guess he killed it because now the season is over. But
he's going to come back to Tucson.
I don't know. I think no, he needs.
I mean, he was given that paper transaction back around that trade deadline to play for the Roadrunners in the upcoming Calder Cup playoffs. When exactly does he get sent down? Will he get sent down for the upcoming games against the Barracuda this weekend? Maybe. Will he be ready for the playoff games against team to be determined on starting Wednesday? Who knows?
I'll just say this: Josh Doan, that kid is special, and he made an impact right away when he got to the NHL because he had a multi-point performance, and in front of his dad, in front of the Arizona faithful, in front of, I'm sure, a decent amount of people who grew up watching his dad play. So
yeah, and it's I'll say it is almost impossible to overestimate how important the entire Doan family is to hockey here in Arizona. You mentioned Shane and just how much he meant. Like, I've seen like the amount of Doan jerseys that I saw in the arena today, the amount of the standing ovation when they showed Shane Doan on the jumbotron, and how loud and just emotional people got with all that. The Doan family and Arizona just go hand in hand.
I can confirm we had a couple of Shane Doan jerseys here tonight as well.
Yeah, I mean, Shane Doan, Hall of Good, but still a legendary player, to say the least.
Absolutely. And I do want to bring it up to this point because we're talking about what the future holds and what it might look like. There might be a decent amount of listeners on this show, saying, hey, it's not going to happen. Arizona doesn't deserve one. Hockey doesn't belong in the desert. I do want to bring this up because I feel like all three of us can attest to that's not true.
Yeah, it's not true at all. And let me just, I'm about to go on a tangent real fast. Hockey absolutely 100% belongs in the desert. It belongs in Arizona. Arizona is a great market. That's why at the time it has four major sports teams. You got football, you got basketball, you got baseball, and you got hockey. And to go on to hockey, Austin Matthews, I asked a few of the players and the head coach this. Austin Matthews took inspiration from going to a Coyotes game. And look what he did just this past season. He finished off with 69 goals, and he's hit the post so many times this year. He's going to be tossing and turning. 69. Nice. But it's just like Austin Matthews is a product of Arizona. Or at my school, Arizona State, Joey Decord, Josh Doan. Right now, they're killing it. Josh Doan, he made a great impact on the Coyotes in 11 or so games. If I recall correctly, just off the top of my head, he was close to being a point-per-game player. And Joey Decord, he's a fan favorite out in Seattle. They love him.
He's a fan favorite here in Coachella Valley. Don't forget, Joey Decord put on a monster season last year with the Coachella Valley Firebirds. He almost led the Firebirds to the Calder Cup last season. And even though he's up in Seattle, he's still beloved here in the Coachella Valley. And this goes back to like his time in Arizona State. We've seen countless interviews where Joey Decord has said, no, I want to be the first guy to help elevate the Arizona State Sun Devils hockey team to relevance. And Joey Decord was the backbone for that ASU team that was the first to make it to the Frozen, or the, I guess almost the Frozen Four.
And let me just say, when Joey Decord was here, he was playing in a crappy arena, Oceanside Ice Arena.
Oh my God, yes.
So Mullet Arena does not happen. With all due respect, it's now demolished. I don't know what it's going to be converted into, but Mullet Arena does not happen without JD. And my mentor, Ever Fitzhugh, the play-by-play announcer for the Kraken, he said that this is often regarded as the house that Joey built because he was a man of his word. He put ASU, he put the entire state of Arizona on the map for hockey. And I cover the ASU women's hockey team. I traveled with them to nationals. There you go. I just said it. They went to nationals and they almost beat the first seeded Liberty Flames team. They missed it just by inches. But that Liberty team had not lost in the playoffs since 2017. So I don't know what the hockey culture was like before I came to ASU, but what I do know now is that Arizona is committed to hockey, in my opinion, and I love it. And it's such a shame what's been going on with the Coyotes organization, because it sort of reminds me as to what's happening with the Oakland Athletics in the MLB.
Mhm.
You have a fan base. Stadium plans have fallen through multiple times. Not all that good ownership. You now got to play in a facility that, let's face it, is not top notch. And now, lo and behold, you become the butt end of the joke.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. I mean, to go from one arena to another, you're still kind of, as you said, a laughing stock. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some time to heal, I think.
It will be, and I think that's another reason why, like, as much as I would love to see an NHL come back here to Arizona, I don't want to see it happen too soon, because I have a feeling that people will reject that team, especially because Alex Morello owns the IP to the name. If they come back, a lot of people right now, they do not trust that ownership. Like, a lot of people have told me they will not touch a team that is owned by that ownership group with a 10-foot pole.
Well, can you blame them?
After what Coyotes fans went through? Yeah, no.
I'm not trying to be snarky here. I'm being legitimate here. I mean, Robyn.
No, that's a legit question.
Robyn, what do you feel? How do you feel?
It's tough for me, because, like, I have made this comment. It's like, yes, I understand, like, the animosity towards Alex Morello right now, and I agree. I think that, I don't think he should be owning an NHL hockey franchise. However, my thought process is like if you're out to support a team, like, hockey belongs here in Arizona, and if you choose to reject a team that is in Arizona because of ownership, and you're just not showing up to games. To me, it almost seems like you're going to be proving that crowd right. That crowd that's saying it doesn't belong here, because there's only going to be 2,000 to 5,000 fans or whatever it might be at the arena. Like, I don't want to see that. Like, I want to see, I want to see some enthusiasm again, and I just don't see that under the that ownership group. If they happen to come back, I hope that people maybe can at least just say, hey, you know what? I will still support the team because these players, X, Y, and Z players, I don't know who's going to be there. It's expansion team, but it's hockey just because it's hockey in Arizona. That's the only reason why I'm saying that. But
now it just raises the question, not if, when.
It could be a few years. I mean, I don't think it's going to be in the next year. Not in the next year or two, because
I will say this. I have got a chance to speak with a number of other Arizona media personnel here, and they said that they will still be attending the Arizona State Land Department auction on June 27th. And they will say they better, because essentially it's keeping Alex Morello in check. He's like, he better show up and he better put his best bid forward to really try to make sure that new arena district happens. Because otherwise, if that doesn't happen, the chance of Coyotes hockey returning will be so much smaller, and it won't happen for a long, long, long time.
Which is a shame. Yeah. I mean, Trey said it would be an absolute shame to take away that market, because, I'll say this, I'll shout this from the rooftops here. Hockey absolutely belongs in the desert. I mean, if you look around where I'm at, this is proof. We just had a sellout crowd on a Wednesday night sellout for AHL hockey, 10,087. I mean, if it wasn't for the Arizona Coyotes.
That's right in the middle of Palm Desert.
Yeah, 10,000 people coming to the middle of Palm Desert to see a hockey game, minor league hockey at that. Who knew that this would work so well? But, with the right ownership, hockey can work in places even like this.
Well, let me just say, I'm going to miss the Coyotes. I really am.
Yeah.
It's just a little weird. And I guess it's always weird when a team relocates.
Yeah.
But here's another example to give some Arizona hockey fans some hope. The Thrashers relocated to Winnipeg. Winnipeg retained their team. That's an example we used. But we've been hearing rumors of an expansion team. And who's on the market for that? Atlanta. But got to keep it honest. When did the Thrashers relocate to Winnipeg? 2011.
2011.
And what year is it now?
2024.
13 years we're talking about. And it's not even official.
Yeah, I mean, and a similar thing when the Winnipeg Jets 1.0 moved down to here in Phoenix, become the then Phoenix Coyotes, and then Winnipeg didn't get their team from the Thrashers until 2011, 96 to 2011. What is that?
15.
Exactly. So we're looking at around the same amount of time frame here. Like that, I don't want it to be that long, but I expect it to potentially be that long. And today's episode is also brought to you by Policy Genius. I'll tell you guys right now that sometimes looking for insurance can be very difficult. Policy Genius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace. It saves you time and money so you can provide your family the financial safety net starting today. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies that start at $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options offer same-day approval and avoid unnecessary medical exams. Policy Genius helps you compare your options from top companies, and their team of licensed experts is on hand to help you talk you through it. Your work-life insurance policy may not be enough to cover the protection of for your family's needs. Even worse, it may not come with you if you leave your job. Policy Genius gives you unbiased advice from licensed experts and a support team. Thousands of 5-star reviews on Google and Trustpilot from customers who found their best fit for their needs. Check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com/LockedOnNHL or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes. See how much you can save. That's policygenius.com/LockedOnNHL.
In a way, it's almost better for it to be that long. That way you have a generation removed from, I hate to use this word, but the stench of current ownership. Is that fair to say that, guys?
Yeah, there will be less of a bitter taste in the mouth if you remove a generation of fans out there. But you still have a lot of the fans, a lot of young kids who just want it to be back.
It's going to be a journey, to say the least.
I mean, I'll get a little personal here because, after the Roadrunners game, I talked with Jonathan Schaefer, who's the radio voice for the Roadrunners. And, I didn't want to say anything. All I said to him was, you know what, good luck down the line. If we don't see you down the line in the playoffs, sincerely, just good luck. And sincere good luck to everyone in the organization in Arizona and Phoenix, the organization in Tucson. It's sad. It's a really big challenge coming up. Jobs are going to be lost. Folks are going to move. Some folks are going to move with the teams. So that in itself is a big challenge. So I just feel for everyone that works within the organizations, because there's some good people that work within the organization that I just feel for.
Yeah. We've met. I've had the opportunity to work with and work alongside so many great people who are part of the Coyotes and Roadrunners organizations. And, I feel for a lot of them. Some of them probably aren't even with them anymore, but still, they still feel the emotions and all the impact that it has.
Yep. And I want to talk for a brief minute about someone that is legendary with the Coyotes. And that is Mr. Bob Hehouse, who is the radio voice for the Coyotes, does a fantastic job. I met Bob here when it was the exhibition game. And Bob is related to one of our off-ice officials here in Coachella Valley, Ed Heathouse. So, bless Ed for introducing me to Bob. Super nice guy. That's a voice of Coyotes hockey. That's a generational voice, right?
so many fans have been connected to Bob Heathouse. And more recently, Lindsey Fry, ever since she became part of a new radio voice as well. But that just the duo that you have there, and just the voice, because it's that voice, right? You have a voice for the fans. So much connection in that, and yeah, you're 100% right about that.
And it sucks. I wish I could use a better word to describe it, but it just sucks. So Robyn, when you reflect on this season, because I talked about this on my show, you look at the record, you look at the points. I think what really did the Coyotes in, that 14-game losing streak.
Yeah, absolutely. That 14-game losing streak really really put them down and kind of put down for the count. And what's interesting, and it was it was a topic of conversation multiple times with Arizona Coyotes coach Andre Tourigny, and said that was around the time when rumors first came out about Salt Lake City, and they said and he pretty much said, yeah, I can't say that it didn't affect us mentally, because obviously it did.
Yeah, so unfortunately, the Coyotes, they got off to a pretty decent start. I wouldn't say really good, but they got off to a decent start. They were
a surprising start.
Yeah, it was a surprising start. They beat a lot of top-notch teams. They beat who they beat? Like they beat Vegas.
They went through that Stanley Cup gauntlet where it was like 6 games in a row against all of the previous Stanley Cup champions. Like that was back in November, early December. That was a really impressive gauntlet of teams that they ran through, and they won them all, which was no one expected. And they kept the playoff spot for I want to say 10 weeks. What it felt like. They were impressive.
And around American Thanksgiving time, that's when you start to separate the contenders from the pretenders. You start to see okay, who's legitimate? Because if you're able to keep it going for that decent amount of time, you might have something, and then you could be in the Metro where it's just so close and you're so bad that it doesn't even matter at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean, they beat some good teams towards the middle of the season, beating Vegas, beating Colorado. It was when they beat Colorado that I said, oh, there might be something here. And yes, I did kind of believe they could be a playoff team. I didn't think it would be this season, but when they went through that gauntlet, like you said, I mean, Vegas was struggling back then. Tampa's kind of on the down, but when they beat Colorado and kept it going, that's when I said, maybe not this year, but maybe they could be a playoff team in a year. I said a year.
I mean, the thing is, they're still keeping the team. It's just going to Salt Lake and rebranding. So maybe, JD, maybe.
That's a possibility. If the ops team's still sticking around, Bill Armstrong is still going to continue to build what he builds. If you're a Coyotes fan, I don't see how they're unless you are only solely focused on locality and focusing on the team is here in Arizona. Sure, I get it. But if you were a fan and say from other parts of San, you want to follow this team to Utah, I'd say do it, dude. You had so much of that emotional connection with these players. Sure, maybe at least until this generation of players are out. That you no longer have your Keller and your Schmaltz and your Krause and your other core players. Until they're gone, why not at least cheer for Utah? I'm not saying be a Utah fan. But at least cheer.
I mean, how many Sonics fans are actually Oklahoma City Thunder fans?
I don't even think this generation even knows who the Supersonics are. Like for me, if I had to choose my best Supersonics player, Ray Allen, Kevin Durant, when first year? I don't know.
Come on, put some respect on. I'm gonna not say the obvious names. Put some respect on Detlef Schrempf's name.
JD, I'm in my 20s.
Okay, fine. Then put some respect on Frank Burkowski's name. Or you know what? No, put some respect on Desmond Mason's name. There's someone from there. We go.
Okay,
someone that Desmond Mason. Come on, that's a slam dunk. That's runner up.
That's runner up. If you ain't first, you're last. But yeah, there we go.
Oh no, I think he won a slam dunk title at some point. I think.
Well, I can't wait until the day we get Locked On Supersonics in the very, very far future at this point.
Yeah,
It's gonna be
and if you're sticking around as a Utah follower or fan, you guys know that I'm going to be sticking around on this podcast once we rebrand for whatever the new name is going to be. I'm excited for it because I know a lot of you. I know a lot of you guys have reached out to me to voice your support and say, "Hey, I look forward to hearing your content of a new Utah team."
I'll just say this, Robyn. It'll be interesting, and don't be afraid to be an out-of-market, host of some sorts. I've had the pleasure of traveling with the Devils when they go out west. Been to Seattle, Los Angeles, Anaheim, obviously here, Vegas. It's a lot of fun.
I mean, Salt Lake isn't too far away from me, so like for all of us in Arizona, it is what, a 10-hour drive? Like
9-10 hours.
I'm flying. I can't.
I like to drive, so I love road trips. But flying, yes, it is a really quick flight. Really quick flight.
No. It's just like staring at the road for so many hours.
Well, so you're gonna fly here to Palm Springs when you come to town?
Mm-hmm.
JD, you know that when I went to Los Angeles, I flew because I did not want to deal with that traffic.
I hope I will be going to that Palm Springs All-Star game when that hits next year.
Yeah. So
yeah, AHL All-Star game next year here in the desert.
And actually, Jade, I do want to cover the Utica Comets a few times, but it's a little far from where I live, and there's never an opportunity. But I do want to get into some AHL prospects that it seems a little fun. The future of tomorrow.
Yeah.
Hey, what if it's Roadrunners versus Firebirds down the line in the playoffs? Oh my God! What if it is Firebirds Roadrunners? Oh.
Well, I think you two will have a fantastic episode to conduct.
Oh, that will be fun. I'm sure I will 100% be ready for that one.
Oh my God. They might. I mean, they're not done. Actually, that's my next question that I want to get into, just because you've mentioned the AHL team. How many fans are still going to support the American Hockey League team if they do, in fact, retain that name? Like, is it still a bad taste? Like, that's a big question.
That's an interesting question, mainly because it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. The AHL team is still retained of ownership by the Alex Morello Group.
Right. Like, are fans going to pull a reverse boycott? Like, I don't know.
It would be really interesting to see. Like, I am thinking of that kind of possibility, and that's kind of the thing I claimed about. It's like, look, I get it. You might be frustrated, but it's hockey in Arizona. Let's embrace it.
Yeah, and you brought up a great point. Like, you still don't want to have the kind of fan base that are just going to not go to games, because that would add fuel to the fire for all the other not media folks, but everyone else in the country that would say, "See, no one goes to the games, so hockey doesn't work in the desert." Well, first off, I want to say something to those folks that, yeah, it wouldn't be good. But hockey absolutely works in Sunbelt cities. It does.
It does. It really does. Let's see. We're approaching about the half-hour mark here. I want to kind of get some of your maybe some closing thoughts on this, but I do want to take at least my time for a sec to give a little personal reflection on the Coyotes' time here. A lot of you guys know I started covering the Coyotes organization. I was covering the Tucson Roadrunners when I was a student at U of A. That's how I got my career started. And there was a few years down the road after I was covering the Roadrunners, Sean Woodley, the channel manager of Locked On NHL, reached out to me and said, "Hey, we need a new host for Locked On Coyotes. Are you interested?" I jumped on that immediately, and I was like, absolutely. That was 3.5 years ago. I really think, and that's why I have this emotional connection with the Coyotes, because they gave me my career start. And they really deepened my love for hockey. And so I think that's why a day like today is very emotional for me too. And to even add in more personal aspect to that, The Coyotes are a huge supporter for the adult leagues that I play in. The LGBT league that I was able to find out that they helped build that through Pride Growlers and a lot of other programs. So emotional. Am I a little bit emotional today? Yeah, I am. Trying to see as much as I can try to fight back tears, but it's hard. It really is.
Hey, I understand.
I get it.
I think everyone else will understand too.
And I will say this really quick, and I just want to thank all you Locked On fans who have listened to my show the last 3.5 years and who are huge Coyotes fans. I got a chance to meet a huge bunch of them over in Press Road. They came by. I took a big picture with them. Other ones wanted to say hi to me. You guys are awesome. I think a lot of you guys are, part of the reason I keep going and keep wanting to do this job, because I'm knowing able to make an impact on your guys' life as a fan as well.
Darn it! Now I'm gonna get emotional too. Oh man! Actually, you know what? Since you're talking to the Coyotes fans, can I issue an apology 3 years later? A long overdue apology. I apologize. I am sorry for all the times that I jokingly or derisively said the Phoenix Coyotes instead of the Arizona Coyotes. So I will clear the air and apologize. I mean, you know, it's kind of like in jest, like kind of jokingly, but I apologize for all of that.
And I'll say this: Arizona hockey has helped me boost my career. It's been everything I could ask for and more. Whether I was doing play-by-play for ASU or being able to go to Coyotes games, cover the Devils whenever they were in town, or cover the Kraken and be with my mentor, Ever Fitzhugh. Jeffrey Saunders, everyone. They've been great. And like I said, it's one of the reasons why I want to stay out here. But it's I get why you two are emotional about this, and it's I guess I'm not as emotional because I haven't been here as long, but I can understand it wholeheartedly because it's really giving me a lot that I could ask for.
And that's what's amazing about Arizona hockey is, like, no matter what you did, and how long you've been around or whatever, the impact is real, and it really is. And I just hope people see that. I just hope that, whatever future ownership group or whatever process it is to get Coyotes hockey back here, I hope they see that, see how much of an important this hockey is to this market, because it has been to me, it has been the absolute huge pleasure of being able to cover hockey here in this state.
And
yeah,
I love being here. So it's I don't know if you've ever wanted a second chance or redemption or whatever the case might be, but this has been my redemptive arc as I finish out my last few weeks here at ASU. And it's been great. And I met you in person, Robyn. And JD, it's how much I love traveling out west now with the Devils. It's been everything I could ask for and more.
Come out here to Palm Desert next year. Like both of you, come out for All-Star game next year.
I'll try to,
and we'll party it up.
I might show up if we make it in the playoffs.
So
you're going to show up behind me.
I've only been covering hockey in Arizona for a year, but to the people who unfortunately won't be able to keep their jobs with the Coyotes, to the fans who feel like they've been robbed and cheated out of the team, to history, and honestly, they owe an apology to Shane Doan for wanting to throw away his banner.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Let's address that. That's, oh my God, the story behind that. A lot of you guys know my my now ex co-host Matthew Jacobson. He he was able to find out that, left behind at Gila River Arena, or now known as Desert Diamond Arena, ready to be discarded, was the old Shane Doan jersey retirement banner that they hung just not too long before then. And to my knowledge, is they even contacted the Coyotes ownership, like, hey, pick it up or else we're getting rid of it. And they did not pick it up. So, Matthew took it into his own hands, took it home, waited for a day like today to give it back to Shane, the rightful owner to that banner. It was an emotion. It was emotional. I could feel like, I could see Matt's emotion because Shane Doan meant a lot to him as a kid because Matt grew up a Coyotes fan. So I felt the emotion through that. And I was like, and I think even Matt even told Shane, and he's like, this ownership, this group, this management, they don't deserve you. You are a icon in this state.
And like I said, he could have left. He had every right to leave. He had every single right to leave, but he didn't. He was one of the few Coyotes players that stuck around.
So many opportunities too, through a lot of those bad years with like the, when people were complaining when Wayne Gretzky was coach, to the bankruptcy, to the Barroway ownership, all of that. You stayed through it all.
So,
well, yeah, that's a testament to just how dedicated like some folks are, and it's because of that dedication that they stuck around as long as they did. I mean, if it wasn't for the Arizona Coyotes, like I'm gonna say it, if it wasn't for the Coyotes, none of us would be here. Let's be real here. If it wasn't for the Coyotes, if it wasn't for that early success of the Coyotes, neither of you two would be covering hockey in the desert. I mean, we wouldn't have another team in the desert where I'm sitting right now. Like, I think we owe like a big debt of gratitude to the Coyotes just in general for what they've meant to hockey in this region, this entire region.
They were a huge impact to hockey in the Southwest. No doubt about it.
Absolutely.
So, Robyn, I know this is your show. We could talk all night if we could.
I know.
We really could.
We can. But if we keep going, then our bosses will get mad. We'll go ahead.
They don't care about. I could stay here all night if I wanted to. It doesn't matter for me.
No, guys. Do you guys have any last things you want to share? Any like final like quick words before I wrap up the our little outro here?
Go ahead, Trey.
All I can say is, Coyotes organization, thank you. That's all I got to say. I know I covered the New Jersey Devils. I know I have association with the Seattle Kraken. You didn't have to credential me as often as you did. Hell, you didn't even need to credential me for tonight's game. I think there's more people. I'll be honest. I think there's more people who are deserving of a credential than me for this particular game, for this particular matchup. But yet, you still gave me the opportunity because there was like 80 plus people that got credentials for this game. It was hectic, but all I can say is, as I approach my final few weeks here at ASU, I guess it's fitting, at least on my storybook. Thank you.
I actually got a chance to call an NHL game, and my first NHL game was between the Anaheim Ducks, which makes sense, Locked On Ducks, and the team they played was the Arizona Coyotes. And to see all the desert-dwelling fans that came out, I mean, it proves that hockey does work here. And, getting to meet some of the folks from the Coyotes, nothing but graciousness, nothing but support. And I just keep going back to hockey works in the desert. And, I'm just so thankful for all the years, and also thankful, especially like this year. Like, it's just been amazing. And of course, getting to do podcasts with you, Robyn. Like, Robyn and I have done a few podcasts together from various locations in the desert. And
I'll never forget our super crossover that we hosted and actually recorded in the studios of the radio station that I worked at the time. That was fun.
that was a fun time.
Anyways, as we close things out, first, where can everyone find each of you guys on for your podcasts and on social media?
Well, you can find me at Trey Matt 4 on Twitter or X, whatever people are calling it. You can find Locked On Devils on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast from. Your team every day.
And you can find me on Twitter X at StimpyJD. And you can find my podcast at the same spots as Trey's.
And Locked On Coyotes, you can follow us everywhere you get your podcasts. Also, all three, including ad-free if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber on Amazon Music. You can follow Locked On Coyotes on Twitter at LO_Coyotes. Me personally, I am at Robyn_Leano. That's Robyn with a Y_LEANO. You can interact with us, ask us any question. I'll answer right back. I will interact with you guys. And I'll even, take some questions you might have onto a next episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. But with that, we'll go ahead and close things. Thanks again for listening to everyone on today's episode. Hope you guys staying safe. Hope you guys staying healthy. And how long forever?